Hi, welcome to another episode of Coffee Convos with Carmen. Today we're going to talk more about escrow. Hello, Miko. Thank you for coming in. And I have a question for you about what is escrow. Can you tell us more about the process?
Hi, Carmen. Thank you for having me here. So escrow is actually used in transactions where real estate is bought, sold, or refinanced. So it's always known as the neutral third party in real estate transactions, and we handle all money and paperwork and all parts of transaction to make sure everything is handled equally for both sides of seller and buyer side.
So what's the difference between escrow process and the escrow account?
So the escrow process is actually what we are doing, handling the process of escrow. Once escrow is opened, once a fully executed contract is received from the agents, Carmen would submit the contract fully executed when she receives an offer from a buyer, and then that is submitted into escrow. We open escrow with that information fully executed, and then we begin process. The difference between an escrow account is the account where taxes and insurance are held, otherwise known as impound account.
Okay, very clear. Thank you. And then who opens the escrow? Is it the seller? Is it the buyer?
So generally, the seller has their contract, the buyer sends in an offer, and once the buyer has submitted their fully executed contract to the seller and it is accepted, the seller will then take that contract received, signed by both parties, and submit to escrow with all needed information to provide to the escrow officer.
Okay, and this is when the buyer sends in their deposit.
So the per contract, everything that we do in escrow is per contract, is written on contract, and as escrow we are just to follow per contract, and generally it's given a 3-day, once escrow is opened and fully executed, it is a 3-day process. So we just assure that we've received it and notify all parties, both seller, agent, and buying, that we have then received it or not received it within time.
So emphasizing on you are a third neutral party, so the buyer cannot call you and negotiate and say we're going to send our deposit in like 3 days later or 5 days. You go per the contract. You cannot negotiate, correct?
True. We are per contract, and if that were to ever happen, if they called and asked us, we would have to send out an email to both agents, and then those two agents would have to agree and approve such.
So Miko, a buyer and seller always ask, this is a huge packet of paperwork. How should I get it back to escrow, and why is that huge of a packet?
So if you're referring to the escrow instruction package,
yes,
it is once we have the initial deposit, we create the escrow package, which includes the escrow instructions, which is basically escrow's contract per contract of sale. It also has some other information that we need to provide to title and to the lender, and get the information so we can get the loan information, HOA, all the information needed to proceed with the process. Also included in our opening escrow instruction is the grant deed and any other items that need to be notarized, certification of trust, sellers, loan deposit money, anything like that. So it is a larger packet, but as you know, I generally go and sign that packet with them to ease the process.
I know. Miko is great at that, and I believe you're the notary also.
I am.
So
yes.
At the close, this is when you go to sellers to notarize everything to make sure that the ones that are selling their home are the actual owners on the title, correct? That's where
correct.
Notary comes in.
Yes.
Okay, so the notary comes towards the end of the transaction.
Yes, then for the buyer side, they have loan documents. If they are using a loan and they're not a cash buyer, they will have loan documents. And so that will come at the end, and a notary will be sent out to sign loan documents with the buyers.
Perfect. And then I know buyers always want to know, what are my closing costs? When do we have to give escrow the final down payment portion? So when does this happen, and what is the closing cost?
So the buyers will receive the closing disclosure, which is which otherwise known as CD, 3 days before documents are released. So the lender will provide that. We will send that out, and they will approve all items and fees and costs in that document.
Okay, perfect. And then this is when they send in their down payment?
Yes, and then generally the final closing costs, they will send in their final funds once they receive loan documents. Generally, they're given a secured, encrypted form that shows the final deposit due to escrow, and then they will go and have that wired to escrow.
Perfect. Okay, I know it's a little bit complicated with escrow. It's a lot of process, a lot of names, and again, that's why we have Miko from Prominent Escrow to answer all your questions. Put in your notes any questions that you want to be addressed, and we'll get to it. Thank you again.